real estate, skating on Dayton's, glass house, church like the congregation. Smoke one for the paper chasers, run it down, count it up, everybody get a cut.
Datpiff.com world premiere.
Right hand to God. I done this for our side. Every time I smoke and ride. Yeah.
Shante Scott Franklin, aka Currensy, would be born in April of 1981 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Being from a city that's so rich when it comes to music, it's by no surprise that Currensy would follow down that path. Like a lot of people, he would begin making music, but he was only halfway serious about it. He didn't get serious until his friend Mr. Marcello had a company called Tough Guy Entertainment, which ended up partnering with the legendary No Limit Records. Currensy would explain they did a partnership with No Limit because they was friends from just being from the Uptown Projects, and they put Marcello's album out. So Marcello was setting his stuff up for Tough Guy Entertainment, and that's when I came on like, okay, I'm gonna start doing this rap stuff. Dodo got murdered in like August of 2001. After that, C Murder called and was like, yo, I'm doing this True Record stuff. You can come over here and put some work in. So I went through and started putting music down, and I was about to put an album out, and then that situation he caught came through, and that was unfortunate. So Master P stepped in and was like, come to Houston and start putting some tracks down, and we will be able to get your situation straight. So I went there and did that for a few years and realized the schedule wasn't how I wanted it to be. So with this, Currensy would be on No Limit Records and would become a late addition to the group the 504 Boys, with 504 being the area code for the city of New Orleans. He would first appear for the group on their sophomore album Ballers. While he was with True and No Limit, he would make multiple appearances on Master P's 2004 album Good Side Bad Side, and would collaborate on several songs with Master P's brother C Murder. We would also see the release of Currency's mixtape Sports Center Volume 1 in 2004. Unfortunately, things didn't really work out for Currensy when he was with No Limit and TRU. Master P has spoken on this and said that Currensy was a young kid with a lot of talent when he was working with him. He further commented that he always felt like Currensy was always in a rush. Currensy has corroborated this story with him saying that he was trying to get his music out, but the schedules were off, so he ended up leaving the label. How he ended up leaving is kind of a funny story. He would be playing basketball with Master P's son Lil Romeo, and Currensy would joke that he would be leaving No Limit Records for Cash Money Records, which is another New Orleans based record label. Currensy joked about this so Lil Romeo could miss his free throw. What Currensy said about leaving started a fire in the No Limit camp. Either way, Currensy was already planning on doing his own thing independently after leaving the label, and had no real intention of going to Cash Money because it was merely just a joke at that point. Plans would soon change when Currensy was at a gas station and spotted Lil Wayne, who was a Cash Money artist. Lil Wayne would ask Currensy what was on the back of his shirt, with the shirt being the logo for his own company when Currensy was trying to go independent at the time. Lil Wayne would tell Currensy that instead of starting his own company, he should go to Young Money, which is an imprint of Cash Money. Currensy would take him up on this and would eventually join Cash Money. While he was on Cash Money, Currensy would end up on a Young Money mixtape, and he would be on Birdman's 2005 album Fast Money on the track Shoveling Snow. The same year in 2005, he would make an appearance on Lil Wayne's album The Carter 2 on the track Grown Man. The very next year in 2006, he would appear multiple times on Lil Wayne's classic mixtape Dedication 2 on the tracks Poppin' Them Bottles, Where the Cash At, and Riding with the AK. While Currensy being on Young Money was promising, especially with what we know Young Money would become later on with people like Tyga, Drake, and Nicki Minaj, but Currensy ended up leaving Young Money as well. In 2007, Currensy would make a post on his MySpace page titled "Sorry Y'all, I Tried." honest. In this post, Currensy would say, "I officially declare my independence on this 16th day of December 2007. I am not Young Money. Regardless of what you may hear in the streets, read on the web, or hear on the radio, I am not Young Money. If that loses me friends or fans, that's just something that I will live with, but I will get my just due in this rap game before it's all said and done. Don't look for any beef records from me, cause that ain't my thing. Just look for me at the top, straight up, fly one out." This would be the second time that Currensy would become a background figure on a label, first with No Limit and now with Cash Money. Enough was enough, and Currensy decided to bet on himself and go down the independent route like he planned to do before he went to Young Money. I forgot to mention that prior to Young Money, Currensy contemplated quitting rap and getting a construction job. The good thing is that he stuck with rap and continued to pursue his dreams. It's also good that even though he split with Master P, Lil Wayne, and C Murder, things have always been good with all of them when it comes to Currensy. He just felt like he had to spread his wings and go down his own route. And when Currensy went independent with his music, he hit the ground running, because in 2008, he would release the mixtape Independence Day, which would become his first mixtape release after leaving Young Money. After Independence Day, Currensy would go on to release 6 other mixtapes in 2008, putting the total at 7. These would all be released under Fly Society, which is something I believe Currensy, skateboarder Terry Kennedy, and Terry Kennedy's cousin came up with and ended up forming into a group. I tried to look up interviews and videos of Currensy talking about what happened with Fly Society, but a lot of that stuff got taken down or got put to private. I did manage to find videos of Terry Kennedy talking about it, and he said that from day one, Currensy didn't really want to be in a group. Fly Society ended up having clothing as well as music. I know these two things for sure because Terry Kennedy and Currensy ended up doing a song together under Fly Society.
Ice cream letterman, 10 times better than these little boys and anybody standing next to them. One thing about the dude, gotta bring the cheddar in. Make them haters sick, the doctors gotta give them medicine.
Now the problem came about, according to Terry, is that he knew that Currensy didn't really want to be in a group, but Currensy was down to do music with him. On the flip side, Terry's friends didn't really get the memo, so they would reach out to collaborate with Currensy, who wasn't really feeling them because he only really wanted to do music with Terry. In interviews regarding the situation, Terry had said that he personally had no problems with Currensy, and he himself got the short end of the stick due to his association with his friends who went at Currensy after most likely feeling disrespected that Currensy wasn't really messing with them. Something else that Terry touched on was that he ended up copywriting and legitimizing Fly Society as a business. In his mind, he thought that Currensy thought that Fly Society would not move forward without him, which they did, which could have sparked more problems. Currensy would release a slew of mixtapes under Fly Society up until I think 2010. But 2009 proved to be a big year in his career, with him appearing on the 2009 XXL freshman cover alongside names such as Wale, B.O.B., Kid Cudi, and Ace Hood. So Currency's work was paying off after dropping an abundance of mixtapes, which led to him building a considerable fan base. For those who don't know, the XXL freshman cover is, or at least was, significant because XXL picks artists every year who they feel are the leaders of the new school. For the most part, Currensy was in good company with the highs of his class. 2009 was a very solid year as far as the XXL freshman cover. Not that long after the release of the XXL cover though, we would see the release of his debut album This Ain't No Mixtape in April of 2009 under Amalgam Digital. The work would not slow down because Currensy would release 2 mixtapes and 1 more album, which ended up being Jet Files in October of that year. Most notably, one of those mixtapes that Currensy dropped would be How Fly, which was a collab album between him and Wiz Khalifa. This tape would be significant for both of their careers early on, with fans clamoring for How Fly 2 for years. This tape is nostalgic for a lot of people and represented a time when Currensy and Wiz Khalifa were on the cusp of blowing up. I talked about this time period a little bit in my video about Wiz Khalifa's Cushion Orange Juice mixtape, which you should definitely go check out, link in the description. How Wiz and Currensy even linked up with each other was initially through MySpace. The two had an appreciation for each other's music, and fans constantly told the two that they needed to collaborate. Wiz Khalifa ended up messaging Currensy that he wanted to work with him, and Currensy showed interest in the idea but forgot about it. Later on, Wiz Khalifa would take to his Twitter and say that he sent a record to Currensy, but Currensy ended up never doing it. Feeling bad, Currency would reach out to Wiz and they began working together. During this process of recording music together, they soon realized that they were like brothers and built a strong friendship together to this day that remains intact. 2010 would roll around, and this is when Currency's Pilot Talk album series began, with him releasing the first 2 Pilot Talk albums this year. The first Pilot Talk would release in July of 2010, with the album peaking at number 39 on the Billboard 200, selling nearly 11,000 copies in its first week. Months later, in November of 2010, Pilot Talk 2 would release, this time peaking at number 95 on the Billboard 200. This would be a 56-spot decrease compared to the first Pilot Talk. The first 2 Pilot Talks would release under DD172, which is a media collective founded by Dame Dash, most notably known for being one of the co-founders of Rockefeller Records. Being associated with Dame and being around him opened up a lot of doors for Currency due to how many people Dame knew in the music industry. But things would go sour between Dame Dash and Currency because him and Dame Dash never reached a concrete deal to release music. As I mentioned, the first 2 Pilot Talks were released under Dame's company, but due to the deal never being solidified, Currency would sign to Warner Brothers Records. In February of 2012, Currency's collab album with Sean O'Connell titled Muscle Car Chronicles would be released under Dame's company. Since Currency was now with Warner, who had exclusive rights to him, this would be a problem and led to a lawsuit from Currency claiming $1.5 million in damages for the unauthorized release. Eventually, in 2015, Dame would settle this lawsuit with Currency. To wrap off the first part of this video, I would like to thank you guys for watching this video this far in. If you like the content, you should like, comment, and subscribe to help the channel grow. Also, follow my Instagram too, that would be greatly appreciated. You guys can always reach out and just show me some love, it's all good. Currency would start 2011 with the release of his sequel to his 2008 project, Welcome to the Winner's Circle. Return to the Winner's Circle would release on New Year's Day in 2011. This is up there with my favorite Currency projects. This project also contains one of my favorite Currency songs, which is Jets at Your Neck.
Ready, I'm gon' keep on driving and smoking, long as baby keep rolling them nice ones up and passing them over to me. I done it how my triple O showed me.
After Return to the Winner's Circle, it wouldn't be long until Currency's collab album Covert Coupe with producer The Alchemist would release on 4/20 of that year. This is definitely my favorite Currency project of all time, with the Pilot Talk trilogy being in my top 3 if we're counting that, alongside Verde Terrace, which was released later on in 2011. Covert Coupe would actually be my introduction to Currency years after its release. I was late on Currency because I didn't really start listening to him until high school, which was around 2016-2017 for me. I knew who he was before I started listening to him because I heard songs from him throughout the years, but when I heard Success Is My Cologne off of Covert Coupe, I was instantly a fan. Full Metal and 007 are other bangers from that project, but Success Is My Cologne changed everything for me. I have vivid memories of me riding around in my car at the time, which was a 1997 Mercedes-Benz, blasting this project. The good days for sure. As much as I love this project, I cannot imagine a reality if it never existed, which was a real possibility. The Alchemist would do an interview with the Rap Caviar podcast and talked about the situation behind the project. He would reveal that him and Currency were working on the project in between Currency leaving Dame Dash and before he got with Warner Brothers Records. Then Currency would sign with Warner, who wanted to put out the project, but according to The Alchemist, it was kind of messy due to sample issues. So we were going to shelve it, like we were not going to put it out. Spitta was already in the future. He literally was like, how much you need? He called me one day and was like, I'll pay you whatever you want. I just want to put it out. And I was like, man, are you kidding me? I don't want no money from you. I love you, but I'm just not used to this. What are we going to do? Put it out for free? Currency said, listen, let me give it away. I do merch drops and I do real good. We'll do a collab with Nick Diamond. I know that's your boy. Spitta was just like, I'll let you eat on the merch. Things ended up working out in the end, and we the fans ended up getting this phenomenal project. A couple months after the release of Covert Coupe, the album Weekend at Bernie's would release. Upon its release, it would become Currency's 5th album, which is kind of crazy considering he dropped his first album in 2009 and 2 years later he's already on his 5th album. This album will peak at number 22 on the Billboard 200, selling 23,000 copies in its first week. Still, You See It and Money Machine are really good songs off of this album. Currensy would finish off the year with the release of Jet World Order, which is a collab album between him and the members of his Jet Life crew. 2012 will be another year that Currensy dropped a lot of projects, with him dropping 8 this time around. Most notably, he would release his 6th album, The Stone Immaculate, in June of that year. Showroom, That's the Thing, and Fast Cars, Faster Women are the standout tracks from this album in my opinion. Speaking on the album, Currensy claimed that The Stone Immaculate was his first real album. The reason why he said this is because outside of Jet Files, his album prior to The Stone Immaculate were largely produced by one person. Ski Beats largely produced the first 2 Pilot Talks, and Monster Beats produced all of This Ain't No Mixtape and almost all of Weekend at Bernie's. The Stone Immaculate will have production from a lot of different people such as Daz Dillinger, Big Crit, Pharrell, Justice League, and Cardo. 2013 would come around, and this year Currensy would release 5 projects. To put it in perspective, that meant that in 2 years, Currensy released 13 projects. Him flooding the market was an understatement, and he would be questioned if he was overexposing himself. Well, no, because a lesson I learned forever is that I'm not going to get overexposed, because you gotta be in the know to know. There is only certain people that F with me, so my stuff is for my people. I can never overexpose myself. I think people also have to realize that he came under Lil Wayne and Master P, who are 2 people known for flooding the market. In 1998 alone, Master P and No Limit Records released over 20 projects. Lil Wayne also flooded the market back in the day with mixtapes, features, and just about anything music related, and he got heavily criticized for it. Currensy knows his lane, and he knows that his true fans could never get tired of his music. The project of note that ended up dropping on 4/20 of 2013 was the collab EP from Wiz Khalifa and Currensy called Live in Concert. Fans clamored for How Fly 2, but Currensy responded to this and said that fans weren't going to get How Fly 2 because it was quote unquote corny. There were a lot of problems with Live in Concert, with the project being delayed and having sample clearance issues before its official release. The calendar would flip to 2014, and 6 more projects from Currensy would be dropped off this year. 2 of these would be EPs, which were Saturday Night Cartoons and its sequel. The song Just Might Be is one of my favorite songs from Saturday Night Cartoons.
Niggas thought I was asleep, cause of how far I laid back my seat. But I can see through rain, snow, and sleep. The sunshine is sun time. Music industry lunch line. I've been standing in that motherfucker for a long time.
We would see a dip in projects in 2015, with Currensy only releasing 4 in total, but in that 4, he did release 2 albums. It had been 3 years since he dropped his last album, with the streak ending with Currensy releasing the at the time long-awaited Pilot Talk 3 in April of that year. Pilot Talk 3 was originally set to release in 2012, which upon release would have been 2 years after the first 2 entries in the series. While Pilot Talk 3 is still largely produced by Ski Beats, the production duo Cool and Dre would produce a good amount of tracks for the album as well. I think that out of all the Pilot Talk albums, 3 has to be my favorite. Opening credits, All I Know, Lemonade Mimosas, Life I Chose, and 560 SL, even though that track isn't available on streaming services, but all of those tracks are heaters off of this album. The other album that Currensy would release in 2015 would be Canal Street Confidential, which was released in December of that year. The big song off of this album is Bottom of the Bottle, which features Lil Wayne and August Alsina. It's one of Currency's most popular songs, and before releasing the track, Currensy was concerned about the song's potential reception. I was concerned about how people was gonna feel about that record. When I put it out, I thought people might have been shocked because it was so radio friendly and might turn their backs. They actually generally understood and was happy to even hear me on the radio. Like I said earlier, I remember getting into Currensy while I was in high school around 2016, 2017, and this is when I started following him. I definitely think that it was more in 2016 because I remember him dropping a ton of projects like every other month and being like, what is this dude made of? And I stand corrected, because in 2016 he would release 12 projects. Some of my favorites from these 12 are The Legend of Harvard Blue, which was released in May of 2016, and Stone on Ocean, which was released in June of 2016. A series that I would really like to mention is the Andretti series that capped off the year. On the 30th day of every month from September to December in 2016, Currensy would drop a project. My favorite out of these has to be the Andretti 1130 project. Staying Ready, Stack It, and FedEx off of that project are all certified bangers. I feel like speaking of Andretti, it's the perfect time to explain what Currensy means by this. Listeners of Currensy would know that he refers to himself as Spitta Andretti, with Andretti being a reference to Mario Andretti, who's a former race car driver. This isn't surprising because Currensy is really into cars and constantly references them in his music. In an interview, he would be asked about how he developed his love for classic cars, and he would say, "Movies. One of my neighbors used to drag race a 71 Chevrolet Chevelle. I don't know where the strip was, but they were always working on cars and stuff right across the street from me. I used to be over there all the time, so just from seeing that stuff and watching movies, cars were always the focal stuff. I had the crazy Hot Wheels collection when I was little. I still go to Toys R Us and collect Hot Wheels. I clear the house and put all my Hot Wheels tracks and stuff up. I got some that I open and some that I leave in the cases for later on. I got real Hot Wheels now, thank goodness for rap money." When it comes to 2017, in my opinion, this was a pretty low-key year when it comes to Currensy dropping music. He did drop 5 projects, and out of those 5, I think that Champagne Files is probably the most notable one. 2018 does have some heat though, because I do really enjoy the Spring Collection mixtape. Mashin', Knock, and Billy Ocean are highlights on this mixtape in my opinion. The Marina, which is a collab EP, would drop in May of that year and house one of, if not the most popular Currensy songs, and that's the song The Count. This was a record that Currensy did with Wiz Khalifa, and on Spotify alone, it has over 100 million plays. Another project of note from 2018 would be Currency's collab album with Freddie Gibbs and The Alchemist called Fetty. This project ended up getting a lot of praise from critics, and you can say whatever you want about Freddie Gibbs now, but him and Currensy are prolific when it comes to music, and The Alchemist is a master at what he does, so it comes by no surprise that the three made a magnificent project together. A fact about this project is that to prove a point to Freddie Gibbs, Currensy recorded all of the songs from Fetty in one day to prove to Freddie Gibbs that weed was not affecting his work ethic. The whole project would be done in 2 days according to Freddie Gibbs. In total, Currensy dropped 6 projects in 2018. Currensy would up this amount in 2019 when he dropped 9 projects. Back at Bernie's would be one of them, and it's the sequel to his 2011 album Weekend at Bernie's. This would also be his first album in over 4 years, with the last one at the time being Canal Street Confidential, which dropped in 2015. Most of the projects outside of Back at Bernie's and the Hot August Nights projects that dropped this year are collab projects. The collab project that I did want to talk about is Currency's collab project with Wiz Khalifa called 2009. The name 2009 is in reference to when Currensy and Wiz Khalifa made How Fly, which was their first collab project together. In 2019, it would be 10 years since How Fly came out, and so much had changed between the two. Wiz Khalifa would of course blow up in the mainstream, and Currensy would solidify himself as an underground legend. Really good to see them still kicking, and I'm really glad that they ended up doing this project in 2019 because we all know what happened in 2020 and how that affected the world. In the middle of the world being in a pandemic, Currensy still managed to drop 9 more projects. It was a mix between collab albums with Harry Fraud and EPs with various people like Fendi P and Cardo. This will pretty much wrap off this section of the video, and in the last section I want to talk about 2021 till now and talk about Currency's legacy. I don't know what it is with Currensy and the number 9, but once again in 2021, he would drop 9 projects, with 3 of these projects being studio albums. He was clearly on one this year, bringing us the sequel to Stone on Ocean with Still Stone on Ocean, and bringing us the 4th installment in the Pilot Talk series. Something that I had no clue happened this year is that Currensy would drop an NFT only album. By definition, for those who don't know, an NFT or non-fungible tokens are basically digital certifications of ownership attached to a blockchain network. With the help of the NFT, users can provide their ownership over a unique asset. In this case, this unique asset would be a Currensy album. To buy this album as an NFT as of now is almost $1,837. There are 170 people who bought an NFT for this album. About why he released an NFT project, Currensy would say, "I have to monetize some things that are directly original to me and people can get nowhere else." In a time where everything happens online on video conferences, we wanted to open the door and show how interactive we can be with our listeners and the people that are supporting us through a time where the way that we make our money has to be compromised. Everybody has to reinvent the way that they get paid, and so that's where we are right now. I'm kind of combining 2022 and 2023 together because Currensy would drop quite a bit of music, but I haven't really heard his most recent stuff. While making this video, I did manage to listen to his most recent project as of this time that I'm recording this video, which is his recent EP with Jermaine Dupri called For Motivational Use Only Volume 1. If you're watching this far in, I'm sorry that I did not cover every single Currensy project, because if I did, we would truly be here all day. That would get repetitive and boring, and I tried to cover as many as I could. The man has nearly 100 projects, and that's by no exaggeration. His work ethic is unmatched and is second to none. He's been on the scene since the early 2000s and is still going strong to this day. Of course, he could have gone the mainstream route if he chose to do so, but he made and stuck to his lane, and that has allowed him the luxuries that he has to this day. His music has influenced and motivated many people, including me. His song opening credits off of Pilot Talk 3 is such an inspiration to me because of the message in the song. Definitely go check out that song if you haven't yet, because that song really hits for me and definitely keeps me motivated in life. I can go on for days about Currensy because he truly is one of my favorites. He's someone that a lot of people might know but doesn't really get talked about, and that's why I made this video today, to give him his flowers. His legacy will live on. All in all, let me know what you guys thought of the video. I love you guys with all my heart. Peace.